You're listening to Coffee and Sports from Wire to Wire Sports Network on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Thursday to you, sir.
Happy Thursday to you, partner, and everybody out there joining us.
Mo, let's start with this. I consider it to be, I don't know if it's shocking, but I consider it to be weird and unexpected. And something that if you said it was on my bingo card for the end of 2024, I would have said, no, it's not. Bill Belichick's a head coach again. It's not in the NFL. It's not with a premier college program. I don't know, Mo. He becomes a Tar Heel. He accepts the coaching position at North Carolina. North Carolina is, a Division I school, so it's not like it's a joke of a program.
Right.
Did Will Levis play for North Carolina? Maybe something. Maybe. I feel like that sounds right. I could be. I'm not that guy. Like NFL Gene can just pop these out like left and right like candy. I'm not the guy that's like, oh, this quarterback went to this college, but I feel like that's where Will Levis came from, which kind of also goes to my point of, not a lot of great quarterbacks come from North Carolina. It's weird to me, Mo. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe he's always wanted to go back to college. Maybe he has an affinity for North Carolina. Maybe he didn't want to be under the microscope of the NFL. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. He is so close to the win record in the NFL. He could have had his pick of jobs in the NFL this coaching cycle. I think if he really wanted to play his cards right, he potentially could have taken a coaching situation where maybe the job wasn't going to be open and he could have wiggled it open.
Correct.
I feel like that's what he had lined up coming into this next coaching cycle in the NFL. And obviously he won't be there. So, Mo, I look at it and I say good for him. Obviously, he wanted to do this. Obviously, this is something that interested him. So, good for him. But, Mo, I also look at it and I don't know why. And I don't understand why. Maybe at some point he'll provide clarity as to the thought process and why he wanted to do it. But, Mo, I look at it and I don't get it.
I'm with you. I think most of us thought that he would get an opportunity. I'm sure he was going to get a couple of offers to coach in the NFL again. And while I know the past couple of weeks he and North Carolina have been talking and the talks got really serious, I also know he has connections to North Carolina as well, obviously. My thinking is this, though, when it was made official, I thought at first, wow, I didn't see that coming. And at the same time, I thought, maybe what he wants to do is be a kingmaker. Maybe he goes to North Carolina and he thinks he can make that program a prominent program, right? Like we're right. It's not a no-name school, but the school is known for basketball. Let's face it. It just out now is. But if Bill Belichick can go there and make it a prominent national championship contender, yes, that would elevate him even to another level as a coach. I have to believe maybe that's the main reason. Like he goes to North Carolina. Nobody's going to go, well, Belichick's in North Carolina. They're going to be in the national title game next year. See, no one thinks that right away. But what if he does raise their profile? What if he does make them one of the more prominent players? What if he surprises you, me, and everybody else out there, and he finds a way to beat the system? Whereas his friend Nick Saban said, I've had enough. I'm not dealing with NIL. Maybe Bill Belichick is like, I'll make NIL work for me. I'll make it work. I'm not going to go into anybody's living room tap dancing about why their son should be a member of the North Carolina program. I might go in there and say I can elevate your son's resume, his brand, his chance to go to the NFL. Like I think Bill Belichick might be a better salesman than we gave him credit for.
Mo, I don't know if you know this or not, but WWE is throwing it back Saturday night when they bring back Saturday Night Main Event.
I remember that.
It's one night only. It's happening this Saturday. They're pulling out all the stops. Jesse the Body Ventura is coming back to be the broadcast team.
Wow.
And it looks like, Mo, for one night only, Cody Rhodes is going to finally get his wish. Since he's become champion, and even prior to him becoming champion, Mo, he's asked for one thing. He wants to get rid of the current belt. He wants to carry the old Winged Eagle WWF Championship belt. And it looks like they have created a version of that belt just for him that he is going to carry one night only, Saturday night, on Saturday Night Main Event. And Mo, I guarantee you, for one time only on WWEshop.com, you can probably own that same belt for like $800.
I was getting ready to say for a small fortune, right? Yeah. And guess what, Chris? People are going to buy it.
Yes, they are.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but I'm excited. I want to see the belt. He's been pushing hard for it. Cody, if you guys don't know this, Cody is a big heritage person. He's a big history person. He is a big respect the game and the profession person. So yeah, I'm excited for Saturday Night Main Event. I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna have a whole nostalgic feel to it, and I'm glad that he gets to carry the old belt because he has been pushing for it for a very long time now. By the way, speaking of Bill Belichick, Mo, 3 years, $30 million. So that is what his deal is, $10 million a year, which, by the way, in the college football ranks, that is a good chunk of change. Most people may not realize this. The upper uppers make good money in college football. Coach, let me rephrase that. Compared to me and Mo, everyone who coaches in college football in a D1 school makes some pretty freaking good money. But when you start talking about NFL numbers, though, there is a big drop off once you leave the bigger programs. Bill Belichick's not coaching for peanuts. He is making good money, $10 million a year over the next 3 years. So Mo, let me end it with this. Does he come back to the NFL? Let's say he fulfills his contract. That's 3 years. He's coaching North Carolina. So we wouldn't see him potentially except for year 4. Year 4, does he come back to the NFL to try to get those last handful of NFL accolades? Or is this it? Do we never see Bill Belichick coach in the NFL again?
So I think that he has to do well in North Carolina, right? Like he can't go to North Carolina and they'd be one of the worst programs in college football. And then he feels like, well, even though the program didn't get better under me and we never went to a title game or we never went to a bowl game, I think I'm ready to come back to the NFL. I don't think he's going to be that an attractive guy because the reality is you say 3 years, but how old is Bill Belichick? I think he's over 70. Is he 70?
I believe he is.
Right. So now we're talking about a guy that's, if I had to guess, he would be around 76. I don't see a demand for him in 4 years. Like if he was going to be an NFL coach, in my opinion,
he's 72 right now. Okay. He'll be 73 in April.
All right. So, right. But I do think the NFL is such a juggernaut. They don't wait for Hall of Fame coaches either. They're not going to go, the guy that's 75, we need to go after him. Like, I don't see that happening. He might get one of those jobs as a consultant, but I don't think he's going to be a head coach in the NFL again.
It's the whole thing's crazy to me, Mo. The whole thing is crazy. Like we thought we knew what was going on. Dallas was some of the names that we were throwing around. Like we thought we knew what was going on. We thought he was going to jump onto a contender. We thought that he was going to kind of check off all the boxes. I just think it's wild. Carolina Panthers wide receiver Xavier Legette. He dropped the potential game-winning touchdown this past weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles. They were talking to him this week. He said, I canceled every plan I had after that. I was supposed to go to the Rod Wave concert. As soon as I got in the locker room, I texted my boy, hey, cancel the suite. I ain't trying to go nowhere, man. He just locked it down, Mo. He just stayed in his house. He didn't want to see anyone. He didn't want to be a part of nothing. He didn't want to be out in the public. I'm okay with that.
I completely understand.
I get it. You don't win a lot of games in Carolina, and the games you do win, you don't beat a lot of good teams. And they had a chance to knock off a Super Bowl favorite, and it literally slipped right through his hands. So I like it. I like that he kind of shut it down and was like, no, I'm not doing it, Mo. I'm staying home.
You know what? It also shows he's got a little bit of humility about him. They lost the game, and I'm not saying you could put it all on him, but think about this. There's a lot of guys that would have dropped that pass, and they still would have been like, I got tickets, so I'm going. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to party. Like, I like the fact that he was like, man, I'm not going to be out there celebrating. We just lost a football game, and I had every opportunity to help us win it. I'm going to take it down and be out of the public eye. I have no problem with his approach. That actually shows a lot of maturity from that young man.
Mo, Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady are joining the ranks of the National Football League. They were part of a ownership group that just purchased a minority stake in the Buffalo Bills. Also part of this is United States men's national team legend Josie Altidore. But you know how these things work, Mo. You bring a bunch of people together that can put up the money because that's what you need when you do these ventures, when you're buying minority stakes in teams. But actually, it's interesting because the Bills and the Dolphins, they both just sold off a minority stake of their team. And it's the first two approved sales to private enterprises that the NFL has approved. But Mo, you know how it is. Money gets money. Money grows money. Money respects money. The rich keep getting rich. The NFL wouldn't do this if it wasn't going to benefit them in some way as well. But I guess we're going to start seeing Tracy McGrady and T-Mac maybe doing some tailgating at Buffalo Bill games.
They better be ready because those Buffalo Bill tailgates, they're out of control. Like they like it looks like an ECW event every time they tailgate. Somebody's going through tables and stuff. So if T-Mac wants to really embrace that community, he might want to pad up.
Tom Brady just sold off a small portion of his memorabilia collection for a nice tidy chunk, $9 million, Mo. $9 million. For some Tom Brady memorabilia from the GOAT himself. So he's having a good day. Speaking of seniors, Al Michaels, he's coming back, baby. He's coming back to Thursday Night Football. The report from The Athletic is that Al Michaels is expected to return to Thursday Night Football. Both Amazon and the 80-year-old broadcasting legend believe that he will be back next season. Obviously, there is still plenty of time for things to change, but that's not where we thought that was going.
I know it's not where I thought it was going because he is a legend.
He's 80.
Right, all-time greats. But if you've listened to recent broadcasts in the last couple of years, he sounds like he's about to snooze during the game, literally. And look, good on him that he's healthy enough and he feels fit enough to continue doing what he loves to do. If he can do it, like I said, good on him. But we both agreed. I thought this was going in a completely different direction. They were constantly talking about a youth movement throughout that production, and it's weird that you say youth movement and then the 80-year-old guy's coming back. That must be like the same thing as saying we're all in, like Jerry Jones.
We're all in, baby.
We're all in.
All in. Jimmy Butler's agent is calling out Shams for all of the fake trade reports. Mo, I think you can agree, especially being as close to basketball as you are. Shams is not a shoddy reporter. He is very well connected within the NBA, and he rarely reports on stuff that isn't based somewhere in truth. So I get it. If you are the agent of Jimmy Butler, you don't want it to seem like, your player is out there just looking for a new home and has a bunch of names attached to him. I get it. That may not be good for business, especially if he isn't moved from Miami and he does end up staying there. That's not good for business. But at the same time, Mo, there's certain guys you don't go after because they've built the reputation, they've built the name. And when they're right, time after time after time, like Shams has been right, time after time after time, it just doesn't hold water when you go after that guy. So I get it. I know why you're doing it. I understand you're doing it for your client. It all makes sense. But Mo, isn't he going after the wrong guy here?
I think he is. Shams has built a career on credibility. He has good sources. I don't think he puts out that information about Jimmy Butler without his sources confirming it. I think the agent is upset. Maybe the agent's upset because Shams his contacts know more than the agent does. Maybe that's what's going on. Like, and that's why he's mad. Like he's not in on it. Shams Charania has made a great career really fast. He's moved up the ranks in terms of being an NBA reporter, an insider. And to me, if he says something, it's because it is so. The Miami Heat is no secret. They, along with Jimmy Butler, are looking to part ways. Jimmy Butler made it plain in the offseason. He told Pat Riley, don't try to extend me. I plan on hitting free agency. Well, if Jimmy Butler plans on hitting free agency, Pat Riley is smart. You got to move him. You move him or lose him. The only question is, with all the rumors about him going to Golden State or going to Houston, there would have to be some kind of agreement with the new franchise that, dude, this is not a one and done, right? You're going to come here and you know what I mean? Like, because what is the value of us trading assets for you and you're only going to be here for the rest of the season? So, and I think that's what Shams reported. And maybe Jimmy Butler's agent didn't like the way it sounded, even though it's probably true. Coming after Shams, to me, is kind of a weak move.
Mo, let's get into the NFL games this weekend. We're going to start with the 7-6 Rams heading to the 6-7 49ers. It's playoff football if you are the 49ers. It's kind of playoff football if you're the Rams, to be honest with you. The Rams are one game out of a wild card spot. They are chasing the Washington Commanders, who have 5 losses. And I'll tell you right now, and I don't have it in front of me, but if I talk for a few seconds here and just waste some time, I can get it back in front of me because I was looking at this the other day because I was like, who does Washington got going on? And I think it favors, potentially it does. So the Commanders got the Saints this week. Now, I know the Saints aren't a great team, but they have won 3 in a row, or 3 out of 4, excuse me. Then they got the Eagles. That could be in a situation. They got the Falcons. I'm pretty sure Michael Penix Jr. is going to be starting that game. So that could be a potential situation. And they close at home, or they close on the road against the Cowboys. Cowboys aren't a great football team, but the Cowboys have beaten average teams this season. And I think that the Commanders fall into the average to slightly above average slot. So I look at the Commanders' last 4 games, Mo. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they're going to win all of them. I think they could go 2-2 down the stretch, which could potentially open the door for a wild card team, especially with the Rams being only 1 game back, to potentially catch them. The Niners are only 2 games back, but the Niners are in that we can't really lose the rest of the season mode because they got 7 losses right now. So really, it's a playoff game for both teams. The Niners are at home. It's tonight, by the way. I didn't realize that. Today's Thursday. That's crazy.
Fast week.
Damn. It's going to be a good game. I don't know. I lean Rams. But at the same time, I feel like the Rams have been so up and down this season. I feel like it's time for a down game for them. Like, I want to go Rams, but I think the Rams are going to lay an egg because that's what they've done like every third or fourth game this season. I think the Niners win. I think they're both 7-7 coming out of this.
I think the Niners win. I really think the offense is going to be fine. My only concern when you're playing the Rams and you're the Niners defense is if you can have a pass rush. If you don't have a pass rush and you're the Niners, Matthew Stafford is going to carve you up.
Well, that's the other issue. The Rams have no defense either.
Right.
I mean, they gave up 42 points to they were trying to let the Buffalo Bills win that game. Like, they could stop nothing in the second half of that football game. So the only thing here for the Rams is the Niners defense isn't good either, but they're better than yours. which is scary to say, Mo.
Right. That's not a high bar. But yeah, look, I think the Niners find a way to pull it out. I will say this though. If it's a shootout, that's favoring the Rams.
That is favoring the Rams. That's gonna be a good one tonight. I'm excited for that. The 5-8 Bengals head to the 3-10 Titans. Jamar Chase is currently on pace for the wide receiving triple crown. He currently leads the league in yards, receptions, and touchdowns. I think he is just going to add to his numbers this weekend. Both of these teams are not making the playoffs. But I think Joe Burrow is going to continue to pad the stats and at least make a dark horse argument for MVP. I don't think it's going to go to him. I think Josh Allen has it locked up, but I'm going Bengals, and I think it's going to be a blowout.
I'm going Bengals as well. I'm with you on Chase and Burrow. I think they both just keep putting up huge numbers. Like it's funny because they're not going to make the playoffs, but both of them are going to be obviously first team All Pro. Every accolade that you can have at their positions, they're both going to garner, and it's going to be on a team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Which is crazy to think about. The 12-1 Chiefs head to the 3-10 Eagles. This is probably going to be a 20-19 Chiefs victory, where something wonky happens at the end, and it's going to be a pick six. I'm going to call it right now. The Cleveland Browns are going to be winning in the final 3 minutes of the game, and it's going to be like a 3rd and 1. And instead of running the football, they throw a little 2-yard out, and it's going to get picked off and brought back for a touchdown. And Jameis is going to be all bummed out about it. It's probably going to be his second pick six of the day. And
that part I truly believe. Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. It's going to be a 1-point Chiefs victory off of their second pick six of the day in the final 2 minutes of the game. There it is. Chiefs win. They get to 13-1. And we're sitting here Monday saying, how do they keep doing this?
And Patrick Mahomes will probably throw for like 225 yards, maybe a touchdown. His numbers will be solid, but they won't blow you away. Jameis might have well over 300 yards.
He might.
And he's probably also going to he'll have as many picks as he does touchdown passes. But you're right.
That's what that man does.
He does. Look, it's weird to say. You see the talent, but the first thing you say is, I don't want that guy as my starting quarterback, right? You don't, but you do want him on your team, right? Because he's probably a hell of a backup in certain situations, but I think Jameis is one of those guys that everybody in the league has enough film on it that they know what he does, right? He locks in on receivers and he lets it go. That said, yeah, I'm with you. I think the Chiefs win another ugly game, but they do win.
They do win. Speaking of Joe Burrow, let me just give you his last 5 games. His last 5 games, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. He has been playing amazing football for the last month. 33 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the season. Well, he's got 4 games left. He's going to finish somewhere probably in the neighborhood of 43, 44, 45 touchdowns and single-digit interceptions. I don't know. I think we're going to be looking at numbers at the end of the season, and we're going to be saying we know that Josh Allen's, 12 and whatever, 13 and whatever, but the better quarterback this season was Joe Burrow, and he's not going to win the award.
He's having, you can appreciate this, a Marino-like season, right?
He is.
I mean, and like Marino, he takes a beating, man. He takes a beating. Josh Allen, I think he sewed up the MVP last week. But look, I thought Joe Burrow was the better quarterback coming into the season. If you want to tell me that Josh Allen is a better football player because of the added element of his legs, I'll give you that. But I think Joe Burrow is one of the top 3 quarterbacks easily in all of football.
Josh Allen, he's about 700 yards passing behind Burrow. He's got 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I don't have his rushing touchdowns in front of me, but that's kind of the big factor in all this. Let me see if I can pull it up here. What has Josh Allen done rushing the ball this season, Mo? He has 7. No, 7. That's it. He's got more than 7. Hang on. He's got 9. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns. So he's got 23 passing. He's got 9 rushing. So he's at 32 total touchdowns. Burrow's at 33 passing. I thought he had more than 9. That's crazy. He had 15 last season. He might finish around that mark this season.
I was going to say he'll finish around that again this year.
But Mo, here's the crazy part. I mean, you and again, I'm not a Josh Allen hater. I don't like him because of his buff. I don't like Josh Allen. I don't hate him though. But listen. But I was wrong. I thought when I looked at Josh Allen's numbers right now, I thought I was going to see 800, 900 yards rushing and be like, okay, he's going to get to 1,000 yards rushing. He's going to have double-digit rushing touchdowns. Obviously, his passing touchdowns would be a little bit less because of all the rushing touchdowns. He's only rushed for 416 yards this season. So, I get that he has 9 rushing touchdowns, but he's not rushing a ton. I don't know. I think at the end of the year, I'm still saying Burrow should probably be MVP. I mean, if Josh Allen finishes the year with under 600 yards rushing, even if he's got 11 or 12 rushing touchdowns and he doesn't break 30 passing touchdowns, and Burrow's over here with 44 or 45, I don't know, Mo. That's hard for me if they're that far apart statistically.
Well, if Joe Burrow does what you're saying and be around 45 touchdowns and single digits picks, I think he's going to do something historical and win the MVP.
How can you, if he finishes, because he's got 33 right now, he's got 4 games to go. He's been averaging 3 touchdowns a game. So let's say he just goes the middle. Let's say he gets 10 more touchdown passes. All right. So it's 3-3-2-2. So he ends up with 43 touchdown passes. Let's say he has 9 picks. He throws 3 more picks this season. If he goes 43-9, and Josh Allen, who is currently only at 23 touchdown passes, let's say he doesn't get to 30. He ends up with 29. I don't know how you give that to Allen. I know he's got the better record. Right. I get it.
And that'll be the argument. They're going to say best player on the team, one of the teams with the best record, right? That'll be the argument, right?
And my argument is, imagine if they didn't have Burrow. They wouldn't have won anything.
Look, and I think that's a poor argument to say best player and the best team, because if that's the case, what if the Chiefs still finish with the best record? Patrick's not having his best season, but he's still the best player on the best team. Would he not get that same respect? So I think that the voters are going to be challenged to not, if they ignore Joe Burrow, I think that's a weak move. You can't, if he does what you say, that minimum. How do you ignore the season that this man is having? Knowing the defense that he doesn't have for him, knowing the offensive line that he still deals with, this is one of those things where you're like, well, Burrow's just putting up numbers on a really bad team. He's putting up elite numbers, and they've been in games that they should have won, but he doesn't play defense. He can't control that. So I do think anybody that doesn't have Joe Burrow in the MVP running, that's sad.
speaking of Patrick Mahomes, his passing stats for this season, he has 3,146 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's got like almost 250 yards rushing. I think Josh Allen's closer to Patrick Mahomes' numbers than he is to Joe Burrow's numbers. Just saying. And Patrick Mahomes ain't winning no MVP this season.
Right.
So, we'll see. We'll see where we are in a month. The Washington Commanders head to the New Orleans Saints. This needs to be a Washington win. Washington has everything laid out in front of them. They have a 1-game lead in the wild card. They don't have the most difficult of schedules over the next 4 weeks. The Eagles are in there, but the Eagles are a very flawed team right now. They should beat the Saints in New Orleans. But the Saints have won 3 out of 4. They're playing more inspired football since they have let their head coach go. But Washington is a better team. They have a better quarterback. They have a better defense. I know they're on the road. The Commanders should roll here, and I think they should win by double digits. But dear God, Mo, if they drop this game to the Saints, now the last 3 weeks are going to be really chaotic for them, because then you go into a game with the Eagles where you potentially have wildcard teams looking to tie you if you lose that game. And that's a whole different set of circumstances and pressure for the young rookie quarterback. So if you're Washington, go out there, win this game, be rooting for the Niners tonight to take the team that is 1 game behind you and not let them get any closer for this week, and then take your 2-game lead with 3 games to play and feel great about your season the rest of the way. Because if you lose this, now you're looking at a situation where you could be tied or have a bunch of teams 1 game behind you. And I don't like that look, but I think Washington gets it done.
I think Washington is in a situation very much like the Steelers were. This is
Yes.
the game. This is the game you have to win.
Yep.
This is you don't have any throwaway games. This is the game you have to win. If they win this game, then they put themselves in a really good position in terms of the postseason. If they lose this game, now the pressure mounts, and now you're in a logjam with a bunch of other teams. So this is a big game for Washington.
And you're playing the Eagles. And say what you want about the Eagles' struggles, I'm still taking the Eagles against the Commanders next week.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
You don't want to be in that spot. Win this game. Hopefully you beat the Eagles, but even if you don't, I think in your mind you probably thought that was going to be a loss regardless. And then you finish off your season with 2 winnable games, and you're not looking at a 2-game losing streak, having to win the last 2 games of the season. And again, guys, you don't understand this part of it. Jayden Daniels hasn't had this happen yet. He hasn't played meaningful December football in the NFL with the playoffs on the line. That's what he's about to do for the first time in his NFL career. It's different than September football. It's a different feel. It's a different vibe. Fans think they're going to the playoffs. Fans expect that Washington is going to the playoffs. It brings so much with it. And he has to deal with that for the first time. I'm not saying he's going to fail. I'm not saying he can't deal with it. I'm saying it's different. So the losses mean more in December, and losing to New Orleans this week, then having to go, and I think they're home for Philly, but having to play Philly next week, knowing that the rest of the league is closing in on you for the wild card, it's just the type of pressure you don't want to see him have to be under. So take care of business in New Orleans, knock off the Saints, and like Mo said, you should be good to go to get that wild card spot and get into the playoffs year 1 for young Jayden. The Carolina Panthers host the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody cares. Dallas isn't going to the playoffs. Carolina's not going to the playoffs. Micah cares. Micah will talk about this game after they beat the Carolina Panthers. But I don't think they do. I think Carolina's played good football lately. I think they've had a lot of close games against much, much better teams than the Dallas Cowboys. I think they beat Dallas. I think it's Carolina, a close game. But, I mean, they've played the Eagles close. They've played the Chiefs close. They've played a lot of good teams who are much better than them close. They played the Chiefs close. Dallas ain't that good. I think they win.
I think they win a close defensive game. I think Carolina wins something like 17-13, but I think they do win. I think they've gained confidence over these last few weeks because they've won a game here and there, and they've been competitive in like several games. So, I think they come out and they win a physical contest, but I think Dallas is in decline. And look, if you're Dallas, maybe losing isn't so bad in the bigger picture.
Not at this point. Not at this point. The 10-3 Buffalo Bills head to the 12-1 Detroit Lions in what could be, Mo, a potential Super Bowl matchup. I still think that Detroit is the best team in the NFL. Oh, and by the way, they're playing in Detroit, which I do think matters here. I am going to go the Lions. I am curious to see what Detroit's defense looks like here. Detroit has been known to let not great teams back into games the past month or month and a half. Buffalo is a good team with a good offense. So I'm curious if Josh Allen and company will be able to move the ball freely against that Detroit Lions defense. But I'm going to go Detroit. Doesn't really matter for either team here. They're both locked in. Buffalo is going to win their division. It matters a little more for the Lions because they got two teams nipping at them in their division.
Right.
But I'm going Lions, and Buffalo's going to drop to 10-4, and we'll see.
I'm going Lions. I think it's a good football game, but I think the Lions just have too much for Buffalo to overcome.
And again, if it's in Buffalo, in the snow, in the elements, I might lean Buffalo. But the home field advantage in Detroit right now, December football, knowing that they're going back to the playoffs and they're playing for the number one. Like, there's a lot going on in Detroit right now for their fans to be happy about and to be able to pat their chest and say we beat one of the best teams in the AFC. I think it's going to be a big victory here for the Detroit Lions. We got the New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Aaron Rodgers, I'll give it to him. He'll win this one. He'll beat Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'll give him that one too. I'll give him that one too. He might not even play great, but I think the Jets will overcome the Jaguars. Look, the Jets season is over too. Like, what are they playing for now? Pride?
Draft picks. If you're a Jets fan, you want them to lose this game.
Oh. And you know they're going to end up winning, right? That's how it works.
They are. That's how it works. The 6-7 Miami Dolphins head to the 8-5 Houston Texans. Mo, everything from the last 3 years under the Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel regime tells you the Dolphins are going to lose this game. The Dolphins do not beat teams with winning records in November, in December, and all you have to do is look at the last 3 seasons because they haven't done it at all. The one thing I will say about this is they are playing inside. So it doesn't matter what month it is because it is not cold inside of that stadium.
Right.
I know that Houston is getting healthy. Houston has a much better defense than Miami does. But because they are inside, I'm going to go Miami here. Miami is playing to keep their playoff hopes alive. In all fairness, Houston has a lot to play for here as well. They're currently 8-5. We talked about this earlier in the week, and I don't have my fancy little sheet of. Oh, I do have it in front of me. No, I don't. Houston has an interesting schedule coming up, Mo, because they need to watch out for. Here it is. They got Miami, Kansas City, Baltimore. So Houston kicks off a 3-game stretch here where I don't think they're going to lose the division, but the Indianapolis Colts are 2 games behind them. And if the Colts get hot against subpar talent, the Colts play Denver, but then they play Tennessee and the Giants. So if you're Houston and you lose to Miami and the Colts beat Denver, now the Colts are 1 game back and you play Kansas City and Baltimore and they play Tennessee and the Giants. I get it. That quarterback play in Indianapolis is suspect at best, but you are not going to feel good as Houston playing Kansas City and Baltimore in back-to-back weeks, knowing the Colts, who are 1 game behind you, got Tennessee and the New York Giants. So this is also a big game for the Houston Texans, whether they want to admit it or not, because of what is coming up on their schedule. That being said, Tua Tagovailoa is playing great football right now. I would argue that over the last 6 weeks, he is a top 3 quarterback in the AFC based on his production and what he is doing. By the way, Mo, he's also chasing him and Jared Goff are chasing Drew Brees' NFL record for best completion percentage in a single NFL season. Tua is like in the high 70s right now, or mid 70s right now, I believe. He just doesn't throw a lot of incomplete passes. So I'm going Dolphins here. And if they lose, the playoffs are gone. So we'll see.
I'm going Dolphins as well. I think that because Tua has, to me, it has been playing at an elite level versus CJ Stroud that's been kind of hit or miss. Look, I always lean this way in a quarterback-driven league. When things are tight, I'm going to look at the quarterback that's been playing the best football. I think Tua's been playing the best football. I expect him to play well when they meet. I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I think that even though the Texans have a better defense, I think the Dolphins offense won't have trouble moving the football.
And if you're CJ Stroud, watch out for my boy Calais Campbell because that offensive line for Houston is not great. And Calais is playing like he is 28 and not 38. So watch out. Watch out. My guy's rejuvenated, Mo.
He
rejuvenated. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. The Ravens are going to destroy the Giants, and we're going to move on. Agree?
Yeah, I think I think this is a workmanlike performance. The Ravens win. I don't know. Let's say 29-10 or something like that. I don't know.
Mo, it's not often in the NFL that you see a point spread of 16.5 points.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're on the road. If it was a home game, that's another 3 points. You'd be looking at 19.5. If this game was being played in Baltimore, that's bananas. The Baker train rolls into Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Big game for both teams. The Chargers are trying to hang on to their wild card spot. They're 2 games up. The Chargers have the easiest remaining schedule of the AFC wildcard teams between Baltimore, themselves, and Denver. After this, the Chargers play Denver, New England, and the Raiders. So the Chargers win this game, Mo. They're looking at 11 wins, in my opinion, if they win this game. They lose this game, then you're looking at Denver kind of as a must-win because you don't want to lose 2 in a row going into your last 2. I'm going Bucks here, though. I'm going Bucks here because I think Baker's feeling it. I think Baker's in his bag. I know they're traveling across the country. I know they're an underdog going into this game. But I think Baker and the Bucks, they know that everything's about to open up in the NFC for them. They're probably going to win their division as long as they take care of business this last month. Atlanta's trending in the wrong direction. They're trending in the right direction. And Mo, we talked about this a couple of days ago. Baker plays his best football late in the season. Now, playoffs, different story because he's had some playoff blunders. But November, December football, you get your best version of Baker Mayfield. And I think that Baker and the Bucks are looking to make a statement. I think knocking off a good team in the AFC and moving to 8-6. Are they going to be in the same category as Detroit and Philly? No. But are you going to look at the NFC and go, okay, it's Detroit, it's Philly, and then who? I think it puts them in the same category as a Minnesota. I think you can look at Minnesota and say, yeah, they have a great defense, but they have Sam Darnold. You can look at the Bucks and go, their defense is all right. But Baker in December, you know what I mean? I think we're having similar conversations right now. If they can go and beat a good AFC team, really take the stranglehold in their division. So I'm going Bucks with the upset.
So I ride the Baker train this time of the year. I think it'll be a close football game because the Chargers are a good team, but I'm going to take the Bucks in the upset as well.
And let's not forget, and again, like you say, you've been saying this all year, the Chargers are probably about a year ahead. They're a year ahead of schedule. And if they lose this game, I still think they have a good chance to make the playoffs because they play Denver, the Patriots, and the Raiders. I don't see them losing to the Patriots or the Raiders. So I still think they have the playoffs ahead of them, even if they lose this game. But yeah, I'm going Bucks. What could be the most interesting game of the weekend is the Colts and the Broncos. Mo, everything tells me the Broncos should win this game. Everything tells me this. The Broncos are a better team. They have a better quarterback. They have a better coach. They have a better defense. I think as a whole, their weapons are better, although I would give the advantage to the Colts in the running back position. But this is that big spot, right? This is that first real test if you are the Denver Broncos and Coach Payton, because you can kind of start closing the door here. There's two teams chasing you if you're Denver. This is one of them. The other one's the Dolphins. You beat the Colts. You're doing two things. You're basically knocking the Colts out of the playoff race, because now not only are they now 3 games behind you in the loss column with 3 games to go, but you hold a tiebreaker over them. So you're basically eliminating the Colts, one of your 2 adversaries for this playoff race from the race. And you're extending that lead over Miami as well, all in the process. And you're at home. I'm going to go Broncos. The Broncos should not lose this game. I would like to see the Colts win for personal reasons with the Dolphins, but the Broncos shouldn't lose this game. I'm going to go Broncos. But, Mo, I think it might be close. I think it is a close game. I'm going to go Broncos as well. You want me to think that Anthony Richardson can play good, clean football consistently, and I just don't think he's there yet. I don't. I think that more than likely in a close football game, he'll make a mistake that'll cost his team the game. So I'm going with Denver. I will say, though, if the Colts win this game, watch out, because momentum is a real thing in the NFL, Mo, and this is the hardest game left on their schedule. If they win this game and they're sitting there at 7-7, saying all that stands between us and the playoffs is Tennessee, the Giants, and Jacksonville, watch out. Because momentum is a real thing, and I can see them riding a little mini winning streak against terrible teams like the Titans, the Giants, and the Jaguars. Now, granted, what's going to happen, Mo, is they'll get into the playoffs and get absolutely destroyed in the first round. But momentum is a real thing. So if they beat the Broncos, all bets are off, because they could easily ride that wave to a wild card playoff berth. We got the Patriots and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are in a win or go home type situation. They're in Arizona. I think the Cardinals get it done. I think they get back to 7-7. But we talked about this a couple of days ago. The Kyler roller coaster is a real thing, and it's not good. At least with the Josh Allen roller coaster, he's having a roller coaster on double-digit win teams. The Kyler roller coaster has you at 500. So that's the difference, right? Like, people don't give Josh Allen as much flack as they probably should, because even though it's a roller coaster, they still win 10, 11, 12 games. With Kyler, it's a roller coaster, and the difference is a winning record or a losing record. And right now they're a losing record at 6-7. I think they get the win against the Patriots. They get back to 7-7. But again, it's an uphill battle for them. They're 2 games out of the wild card with a bunch of people trying to chase down the Washington Commanders. I don't think Arizona is going to the playoffs this season, but I do think they get to 7-7.
They get to 7-7, but you're right. They blew their opportunity, I think, a couple of weeks ago, when they could have took complete control of their division, and they didn't do it. And then obviously last week losing to the Seahawks. In terms of them winning the division, I think they're done, but they will win the game on Sunday.
Mo, the Steelers and the Eagles, this is interesting. So this is the kickoff of this really tough stretch for the Steelers. We already acknowledged the fact they took care of the business they needed to, beating the Bengals and the Browns. So even though they have this tough stretch coming up, they are in a good spot as far as the record goes. The Eagles, on the other hand, they are the home team here. This is a tough game for Philly, because you're playing a good team, you're playing a good defense, and things don't look good right now as far as your offense goes. And I don't know if you can go out there against the Steelers and only put up 16 points on offense and win this game. This could be a low-scoring game. It could very well be a 20-17, 21-20 type game. But I think you're going to need more offense than you had last week against, although an improved, but a not great Carolina Panthers defense. This is an elite defense that you're playing. I'm going to go Steelers here. I know that the Eagles are a big home favorite. The line right now is 5.5, which I think is ridiculously high considering the way the Eagles have been playing. I know they're playing at home, but I think 5.5 is generous right now. I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
I'm going to go Steelers 2017. I think Russ and company do just enough on offense. I think defensively, I think that front seven slows Saquon down. I don't think he rushes for 100 yards or has a big game against him. That doesn't mean he can't be effective in other areas because he's terrific out of the backfield in the pass game. But I do think that the Steelers' defense will be the difference in the football game, and I think Russ will do just enough.
One of the games that I'm most excited for this week is the Packers and the Seahawks. This is a real chance for Seattle to kind of put the NFC on notice and say, hey, we're the third best team in the NFC, as they try to prove that they belong in the conversation as a team that could potentially take down either the Eagles or the Detroit Lions, and beating another potential favorite for the playoffs in the NFC in the Green Bay Packers is a really good way to do that. The game's in Seattle, which I think matters because I think Seattle has the best home field advantage in the league outside of weather-related things. So I'm going Seattle here. I'm in a little bit of an upset because I think most people are going to favor the Packers, who have been playing great football the last month or so. But I think, unlike some of the other teams in your division, Mo, I think Seattle is going to capitalize on their opportunities to kind of flex a little bit and puff their chest out. I think Seattle wins this. Let's go Geno. Let's go Geno.
This might be the best game of the week. But you know what? Coming off of the loss that they just had, I think the Packers come out motivated. I think they find a way to win a close football game. And Jordan Love plays a clean football game, which is really important. I think Geno will play well, but I think the Packers win a close football game.
And then Monday night, it's the Bears and the Vikings. The Vikings are just trying to hang out and stay paced behind the Detroit Lions. I think the Vikings win this game. It might be closer than we think it's going to be just because the Vikings kind of get themselves into those situations sometimes. But I like the Vikings defense. I don't like much what the Chicago Bears are doing. So I'm going to go Vikings.
I'm going Vikings as well. I think the offense and Sam Darnold do just enough. The defense, I think, will create a couple of turnovers, and I think they'll win a comfortable football game.
Mo, has there ever been a more underwhelming 12-2 team than what this Minnesota Viking team is going to be? I mean, they're going to be 12-2, I think, and they could very easily lose their first playoff game, and you would not be surprised. You would not be surprised because that's just the type of season they're having. They're playing a lot of close games. Their defense is really the reason that they're staying in these games, and the offense is doing just enough at just the right time. This is just not a prolific 12-2 team. And also, whatever Viking fan went out there at the start of August, when everyone was saying this team was going to, us included, was saying this team was going to win 3 or 4 games and, put the money down on double-digit wins, good for you. Cash it in, baby, because you believed when no one else did, because I would have bet a lot of money if you were like, all right, Minnesota's going to win 12 games. It'd be like over my dead body. There's no way. There's no way with either of those quarterbacks they win 12 games. No, they might win 13 or 14 games. It's crazy.
It is crazy, especially when you realize how hard it is to win in the National Football League. And you're right. You said it out loud, and I've watched more than a few of their games. They don't look like a 12-win football team. They don't. they're very good on defense. They're not dominant, but they're very good. And they're pedestrian on offense. They do make explosive plays here and there, but in terms of being like they're not a juggernaut offensively. And yet they're 12-2. And it goes to show you in the NFL, special teams,
defense,
and not turning the football over, you can win football games that way. Sam Darnold has been rock solid. He had a couple of stretches where he turned the ball over, but over the breadth of the season, he's done the one thing. He hadn't turned the football over. If you're the quarterback of a team that's not an offensive juggernaut, it's okay to go 3 and out when you can rely on your defense to make plays for you. And that's what they do.
And Minnesota fans, you are going to get a real gut check the last 3 games of the season. You play in Seattle, home for the Packers, and in Detroit. So we'll find out exactly where you stand literally in your conference, because you are going to be playing 3 playoff teams in your conference the last 3 weeks of the season. So we'll see what happens there. Mo, great show on a Thursday. Take us to a close.
Thank you guys so much for joining Chris and I this week. We appreciate you. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network. Appreciate you guys.
Guys, we're taking a 72-hour break. We'll be back here on Monday breaking down all of the action from the NFL week. We'll also check in on the Major League Baseball hot stove, and we'll see what's going on in the National Basketball Association. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we'll see